Hi everyone, welcome back to the Curious Coconut. Today, we are talking to the founders of Mindful Cacao, Antoinette and Olivia. These two have been friends for over 20 years and truly have been through the highs and lows of life together. They started their careers in corporate HR roles, then decided to start their own well-being business, and are now on to their next one, which is Mindful Cacao. In today's episode, we discussed all about how they got started, what some of the challenges they faced were, and what they plan to do going forward. They're also experts on meditation and mindfulness, so if you want to know more about any of these topics, make sure to listen to the rest of this episode. See ya! Hi everyone, welcome back to the Curious Coconut. Today, we have some amazing guests who are from Mindful Cacao. They are Antoinette and Olivia. And do you guys want to quickly introduce yourself, just so our audience knows who you are?
Sure. I'm Antoinette.
I'm Olivia.
Lovely to be here today. Thank you.
And do you guys want to give us a quick overview of what your background is and what do you guys do?
Yeah, absolutely. So Olivia and I are the co-founders of Mindful Cacao. We launched our business recently. However, we do have a background in wellness, and we did have a previous business where we were doing wellness experiences. So more of a service-based business. Unfortunately, with COVID, with events and the lockdowns that we had in Melbourne, Australia, we had to kind of put that business on hold for such a long time. After COVID finished, we decided that we would kind of launch something new, and hence the birth of Mindful Cacao. But Olivia and I have been in the wellness space and studied positive psychology and worked in corporations for many, many years around wellness.
Yeah. Thanks, Antoinette. And we've been best friends for a very long time.
We have.
We met at university a very, very long time ago. I know you guys asked how long, but yeah, a long time. and so we've actually, as I said, so we've known each other a long time.
And what made you guys want to switch from, you said that you have a corporate, you worked in corporate for a long time. So what made you switch from that to starting your own businesses?
I think for both of us, it was really pursuing our dreams and pursuing our passions. So we both had a passion for wellness and really helping people to live their best lives. And although we were, working in leadership roles in corporations and within the wellness space, writing leadership programs, culture and change programs, we just felt that we really couldn't impact as many people within the system of the corporation. There was a lot of limitations. So we wanted to go out and do our own thing and pursue our passion in our own way. And that kind of led us to, we both had entrepreneurial mindsets. So we're both risk takers. So we thought we'd give it a go. And that led us to running our first business about 10 years ago, or a little bit longer than that now. And then with COVID, unfortunately, that business had to be put on hold because it was a wellness events-based business where we did interactive events. And so after COVID, we decided to get right back into it and launch Mindful Cacao.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great to hear. What is Mindful Cacao?
So Mindful Cacao is a wellness experience. And what it is it's combining two modalities or practices, if you like, into a wellness experience. And one of them is ceremonial cacao. Some of the people might not have heard of ceremonial cacao, but it's a superfood hot chocolate. And what we've done is we've taken this superfood hot chocolate and we've combined it with meditation. And the meditations are written. That's, as Antoinette said, in our previous business, we were doing wellness events, and one of them was actually meditation. So we're actually meditation teachers. So we've combined it with our own meditations that we write and record. So the idea is you make your superfood hot chocolate every day. There's a QR code on the package. You scan that code and it takes you directly to a 5-minute daily meditation. And that meditation changes daily.
Yeah, sounds super interesting. Like, how did you guys come up with this idea?
Well, we feel like meditation led us to this, to ceremonial cacao. We always ran these wellbeing meditation classes, and one of the biggest things that we always heard was, "I've tried meditation; it's too hard. I've tried; it's not for me. I can't stop my mind." So we were thinking of what's a great way. Because we truly believe in the power of meditation. There's a ton of research, as you guys probably know. You just type in Google meditation, there's thousands of articles written about the benefits of it. So we just wanted to like make it really easy for people to meditate. And we thought, what way could we do that? And why not actually combine it with a superfood like ceremonial cacao, which has got amazing benefits in terms of making your mind more alert. So it's a lot easier to meditate. And also it's actually linked to something that you're already doing, like which is making a hot chocolate drink or something like that. So so that's how we came up with the idea. We were just going, hey, like, why don't we combine two really powerful practices together to create a really simple 5-minute daily self-care ritual.
I just thought of two questions from that.
Yeah,
So
no worries.
yeah, so the first one is ceremonial cacao. Is
Yes.
it different from normal cacao? Because I know that there's ceremonial grade matcha and normal matcha and premium
Yes.
matcha and all of that. So is there a difference?
Yeah, so the ceremonial cacao, I suppose, is your highest quality, high grade drinking chocolate. Now, the things that set it apart from just, say, an organic cacao or raw cacao are things around the ethical sourcing. So with ceremonial cacao, it's always ethically sourced. So the complete supply chain is known. It is usually single origin, which means the bean comes from one place. It's a non-GMO bean, which means it's not made in a lab or a hybrid bean. It's from one place and it's an heirloom bean. So it's using a traditional bean. In addition to that, it's also a sustainable, the practice of making the ceremonial cacao itself is sustainable and clean and kind to the environment using traditional methods. And most importantly, the word ceremonial, I suppose, comes from also the place of it actually being made with intention. And by that, we mean that the whole supply chain is basically looked after, from the environment to the farmers, making sure that they're paid fairly, there's no child labour, all of that kind of stuff, which tends to be in the cacao industry more generally. So that the whole process is made with intention, and with the plant medicine, the cacao itself being held at the highest kind of in high revere, so that all the nutritional qualities are basically retained. So that's why I suppose it's high quality premium cacao, your highest grade, with nothing else added, just the cacao.
I didn't know that there was different grades of cacao. That really makes me want to try ceremonial as well.
Yeah,
for sure. Another question I had though was, I myself, I've tried meditating as well.
Yeah.
And I'm one of those people that said, okay, it's a bit hard. I don't know how to put in the time and all of that. But during my meditation journey, I also found out that there's different types of meditation as well. So what sort of meditation do you guys offer with your business?
So we offer guided meditation, which is the simplest type of meditation. So it's only 5 minutes, and we guide you through the process of the meditation. But there is different types of meditation. There's mantra, there's just silence, with nothing, there's just music. So ours ones are the simplest if you're trying to get into meditation, which is through a guided meditation, which means like, you find a comfortable position, you close your eyes, and then we guide you through the process of the meditation.
Okay.
Yeah. And you mentioned that like you make one for each day. So how do you do that? Like, are you sourcing these meditations yourself, or are you using like a third-party software to kind of give these meditations?
No, we record them ourselves. So we've got a studio in the city. We write the meditations ourselves, and then we go and record them, and then we put them together like with music and then we load them on our website. We've got help with loading all that, but no, we because the meditations are something very dear to us, and so is the cacao, but so is the meditation. And when we got into the business, we wanted to honor them both 50-50. So the cacao is important, and as Antoinette said, it has to be ethical, sustainable, no questions asked, but so does the meditation. The meditations have to come from the heart, and they have to come with positive intention. So
I'm just wondering, like, is it hard to come up with new stuff? Because I mean, if you have to like 30 meditations a month, Like, I don't know, it just seems a bit daunting to come up with new topics for it.
Yeah.
So we have what we call intentions, the current intention. So the way we tune into the cacao and do our own meditation practice, and every couple of months there's a new intention. This current month it's all about courage. So all of our meditations and everything on social media focuses around courage. So if you listen to meditation today, it's going to be about courage. We won't reveal the next, so people have to watch what the next intention is going to be. But we've got, we've tuned into the cacao and we already know what the next intention is going to be. And the next intention is going to be something different. So all the meditations will be around the new intention, which makes that writing and recording a little bit easier. So our meditations change daily, but we don't necessarily have 30 different in the day, in the month. So it could be, some of them are repetitive, if you like, throughout the months.
Oh, okay. So you just repeat the same ones, maybe like
so
once
we might
a week.
record we might record 12 and then we basically repeat them over that cycle. So you get to hear the same one a couple of times over the period of the 2 months. But they definitely change every day. But you might hear the same one 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's a very good way of doing it. Because then like you're not listening to the same one each day, so you get bored, but you also have like some ones that you're familiar with. So that might help.
Yeah, that's why we did it that way. Originally, we were going to do a different one every day, but then when we spoke to some of our customers, they said, you know what, like actually I do like the comfort of knowing a meditation that I've done previously.
But this is chosen for you, right? So every day you don't have to think basically.
No, you don't. That's what we wanted to make it really easy. We want to make it really easy for people to do the meditations.
Yeah, for sure.
So every day you just get your packet, and it's a bit of a reminder also that, this is the cacao. And you don't have to do it every day. That's what we recommend. But, I might as well, I've got 5 minutes, I might as well do the meditation. Now, even if we've made it really, really simple for people, even if they don't have 5 minutes, on our website, we've got an affirmations meditation, which is specifically created as you're making your cacao. So you can just put it in the background, press play, and as you are making your cacao, you can listen to this meditation. Yeah. It's an affirmations meditation, which means that you don't have to have your eyes closed and you don't have to be seated like our normal guided meditation. And that's for those that are really even struggling to find that 5 minutes. Of course, we recommend doing the 5 minutes. But if you're totally new, this at least starts slowly getting you into the habit of doing something. So affirmations meditations are just like affirmations. So, it could be today's going to be a great day, or, different types of affirmations that we have in this meditation. And the idea is just to start getting people slowly to get into the habit of doing a meditation practice.
What's a benefit of that, if I may ask?
I guess one of the other parts that people struggle with meditation is change, right? So I'll tell you a little bit of an experiment that was done. So they did this experiment with patients, and these patients had just received heart surgery. Okay, and they've received heart surgery, and the doctor said to them, well, you know what? You've done heart surgery, you're alive, but if you don't change your habits and you become more healthier, I'm sorry to say you're probably going to die in the next 4 years. So you have to make some changes to your life. So they followed these patients for 4 years. How many do you think changed? I'll put it out there. It's life or death. So you don't change, most likely not going to be here.
I would say like 50% at least.
I don't think
you'd hope.
Changed for some reason.
Yeah, only 10%.
Oh.
So unfortunately, 90%, 90% actually passed away within the 4 years of this experiment. So change and actually changing your habits is one of the hardest things to do in life. And anyone that's tried to do something a little bit different struggles, right? And even if they know it's good for them. So we have tried to make it as easy as possible for people to change and create that new habit. So if you, sometimes even doing 5 minutes a day is a big leap for people, right? Just to do that 5 minutes, even though you're thinking it's only 5 minutes. So that's why we're thinking, okay, how can we actually do that? And one of them was through these affirmation meditation, which is on our website. It's free. So just press play as you're making your cacao. And then that slowly will start building that muscle in your mind of about creating that new habit, because change is, you know, as I said with that experiment, it's quite hard.
I'm just curious, like, so so far, have you had any customers, who are struggling to do meditation before, but after like drinking the cow and following the routine, they have been able
Yes.
to do that?
Yes.
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 So
Are you
so
going
we've
to an efficacy?
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah, no, we've received really good feedback from customers, and there's specifically one that I can think of right now. She was basically having like an afternoon, a tea or a coffee or whatever, and she's ended up replacing it with the cacao, which is amazing. But for her, it was all about taking that 5 minutes. She struggled to meditate because she couldn't quiet her mind. And also she kind of forgot about the practice. She'd just make her tea and she'd get back to work. So what she's basically done is she's just made it now a habit that it started with the affirmations. So she would get onto our website and listen to the affirmations. So as she was preparing her cacao, she would repeat the affirmations. And that put her into a mindful state where she was present on just basically preparing the cacao. From there, she started to scan the QR code and listen to the guided meditation and sit down for that 5 minutes and complete the meditation. She started off doing it a few times a week, and now she's basically doing it daily. What she has basically said is that time that she takes in the afternoon actually re-energizes her to finish off the workday and go into her day with her children and, all the evening activities and all the things that happen when they get home from school. So essentially for her, it has been an amazing well-being habit that she's been able to develop just in the course of about 3 months.
That's really good. That's really amazing.
Yeah.
And she just said she feels calmer. She's obviously getting all the nutritional benefits and all the benefits from the meditation as well. And she just feels more centered, like she's able to complete the rest of her day with more energy, with more gusto, and feeling in a better mood. So it's really improved things for her. And that's just a simple example.
And I mean, we even hear people saying 5 minutes is not enough now. Like we want to do longer ones.
They need to make longer meditations.
Yeah, and we haven't done, because we already started and we are going to do longer ones. But people are now going, okay, you guys are just like the taster, and then I go off and do another, a longer meditation. So it's all about really building that that muscle in your mind, if you like, that well-being muscle around meditation, and starting to build that habit.
Yeah, no, I think I read somewhere that like if you try to change something, you should try to do it pair with like a habit that you're already doing.
That's
so
right.
the fact that you can, replace your coffee with the cacao and then do the meditation, attach the meditation to the drinking of the cacao. I think that really helps people to start doing something that's potentially hard for them.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. And I don't know if you guys know a lot about neuroscience and plasticity. Have you guys heard of that before? Brian?
I've heard of it, but do you mind explaining it still?
Yeah, so basically what that's about is that we have the capacity for our brain to change and adapt. And the way it can change and adapt, the first thought it was only in children, and then, as adults, you cannot change, right? But then they realized, actually, no, we can change and adapt as we get older. But the only way to change and adapt is really by repeating a task over and over again, right? So the more you repeat the same task, the more you create new, what they call pathways in your brain to do that. And that's why, like, doing this habit daily, it will just become easier and easier and easier, because you'll be doing it more and more. A lot of people think the function of the brain is to make us happy. It's not. The function of the brain is for us to survive, and to find the most efficient way to do anything. So the brain's not going to go, oh, is this good for Olivia or not, this habit? It's going to go, what is the easiest and what's the simplest way that this task and what she needs to do is going to get done? So by you sort of doing a positive habit over and over again, it solidifies those pathways in your brain and it builds them over time. This is not a quick fix thing. I mean, that's why a lot of people do give up on meditation. It takes time, like anything new. There's a bit of a learning curve. But definitely in the longer term, it's way better for you than anything else that you're doing.
Wait, I just want to circle back to something you said.
Yeah.
So the job of the brain is not to make you happy?
No.
Oh, really? Because I feel
Yeah,
like we're
no.
always trying to find like a dopamine or like, make ourselves, I don't know, happy about something, right? I feel
Yes,
like that's what we're searching for in life.
that's right. And the way we do that, right? Yeah, it's a really good point. So the way we do that is by the brain will go, okay, well, what's going to give you that hit? Okay, what have you been doing constantly to give you that hit, right? Now, that habit could be a good habit, it could be a bad habit, but it's going to find a way, right, to give you that hit in the most efficient way it
Oh,
knows.
so it has
Does
to be
that
more
make sense?
efficient. Yeah.
Yeah, it wants to be efficient, so it does want that. Yeah, that's right. We're always searching for those feel good chemicals that the brain releases. But how we get those, and you can see this everywhere in society, it's not always the best way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That we get that. So the idea is now just to create these positive habits to get that same hit. Yeah, because the brain wants to conserve energy where it can.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really interesting.
It's very interesting once here.
There's a lot of research on it, actually.
Yeah, a lot of research.
There's a lot of research on it.
Yeah. Another question I want to ask is like, do you guys plan to or like want to replace coffee with this ceremonial cacao? Like, is that what you guys are going for?
Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, I think for us, it's all about the holistic well-being experience. So it's about the meditation and the cacao together. And like Olivia said, creating that daily habit of wellness, because we know there's a lot of science behind it's the things that you do daily that actually give you the long sustainable change over time. So by replacing, a habit with a good habit, you end up basically getting sustained well-being. But in saying that, for people that are just looking to afternoon slump or morning slump.
Yeah.
If we look at caffeine, caffeine is a high stimulant. So it gives you the jitters. It basically works on the nervous system. So if you're someone that's sensitive to that, and I am, for example, I haven't drank coffee for a long time. I either drink decaf or I drink no coffee. Because I get the jitters and I actually get a little bit of anxiety from those jitters. It's too much of a stimulant for me. So for people that want to basically get a little bit of a hit, however, without the jitters, ceremonial cacao is perfect. And the reason why it's an amazing coffee replacement is unique to ceremonial cacao is a stimulant called theobromine. Theobromine exists nowhere else except in cacao, and it's unique to chocolate. And basically what theobromine is it's a mild, gentle stimulant. And what it does is it increases blood flow and works on your circulatory system. So it makes more blood to the heart. Hence, cacao is a heart opener. You would have heard that. A lot of kind of ancient cultures talk about it being a heart opener. And it also increases blood flow to the brain, which gives you a bit of a focused hit. So you feel focused, which is amazing for meditation, but it's also amazing for creativity and getting things done as well. So something like ceremonial cacao, which is high quality and has a lot of theobromine in it, basically is amazing as a coffee replacement because you get that little bit of a buzz. However, different to caffeine, it's not a nervous system buzz, so you don't get the jitters. You just get the focus. So it's amazing. Whenever we're doing tastings, I always say to Olivia, I'm the one that makes up the tastings and then I give them to people, but I'm always sampling it myself. So I end up drinking 5 or 6 of cacao, cups of cacao by the end of the tasting. And I am wired, but in a really good way. I'm really focused. I'm really present. I have a lot of clarity. And I'm not like that kind of wired. So it's an amazing replacement. It's a really good replacement for coffee. And a lot of people like drinking it for that reason.
Yeah. Going back to sourcing. So you were actively going out testing all these cacao pods.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
And
so
where do you source them?
Yeah. So what we did was when Olivia and I decided that we were going to make ceremonial cacao part of our business with the meditation. The first thing we did was we went to an international cacao conference overseas in Indonesia. And at this conference, there were cacao academics, farmers, scientists. There were all different industry experts at this conference. And we basically spent 3 days in the conference with them, absorbing all the information, going to all the workshops and all the lectures, etc. And we spoke to a lot of experts and a lot of farmers, etc. We visited farms as well, and we really learnt about the supply chain within the cacao industry, and that there was, a little bit of diciness around it, particularly around things like fair trade for the farmers, non-ethical practices like using pesticides, cutting costs by using GMO beans and hybrid beans, things like that. So we wanted to ensure that our supply chain was clean. As a result of that, when we sourced our suppliers, we vetted them. We import the beans, and then the production of the actual cacao, the hot chocolate component, is done here in Australia. So it's only the beans that are imported. Cacao beans don't grow in Australia. So basically that's why we've imported them. Well, they do, but it's very rare. It's not known to be here. There's not very many farms. So essentially that was our whole process, just making sure that everything was ethical and sustainable and in line with our practices. So that's how we were able to do it, by learning from that conference what was important and then making sure that our supply chain had that. So just to let you know as well, on our website with our products, we actually have a fully traceable map showing you where the bean came from, like from the farm right through to the production of, it being packed, the whole process and who's touched it and what's it involved in. Yeah.
Wow, that's really amazing.
Traceable. Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, Antoinette makes it took ages. It took
it did
a year and a half.
It did
to
source the right supplies.
Or just to source the supplies.
Yeah, just to source. Yeah. So took a while. Well, we knew a lot about meditation and well-being. We didn't know much about cacao and the supply chain. So that's where we had to learn. And one of our values is integrity, obviously, and sustainability. So we just did it. Yeah, it took a long time to find the right supplier.
Yeah, but I think it's worth it in the end.
Of course, there's no other way, really. Yeah, we don't think so.
I was also about to say that it's crazy to think as well that there's a whole conference surrounding the cacao and this whole thing.
There's a lot of conferences.
Most of them are overseas. But the cacao industry and the chocolate kind of making industry is really big, and there's a lot of really big players in there. But I think the customer now demands ethical, sustainable, I think, everything. So it's very important. And, we are of that generation too, and you guys as well, where it's very important that the customer knows where things are coming from and the process involved in getting the product to them. So we're definitely committed to that.
Yeah. And looking after our environment, I mean, it's so critical now. We just have to. There's no other choice.
Yeah, so I want to know, like, what's the difference between the cacao or the cacao we might drink from you versus like the hot chocolate, the regular hot chocolate? And are the beans the same or are they different?
Yeah. So I think the main difference between your kind of commercially produced cacao or chocolate, we won't mention any names of the big players, but I'm sure you know them all.
Okay.
But essentially the big difference between that kind of, let's say, hot chocolate and what we're providing as in the ceremonial cacao is really around, firstly, it's around the source of the bean. So firstly, what is the seed? Is it a GMO seed? So is it something that's genetically modified or a hybrid bean? And if you really do some research and dig deep, and we found all of this out at the cacao conference we went to, there are some hybrid beans that have been genetically produced by, cocoa manufacturers to basically yield more crop. Okay. So there are some beans that are not even real. They're not even coming from, they're fabricated in a lab. So there's that. The next thing as well is the origin of the bean. There are a lot of, cocoa producers or chocolate producers that mix a lot of beans. So they may give you a little bit of this and a little bit of that and put it all into one chocolate. We actually just use one single source. So we use kind of like from one place, one region, and it's the same cacao bean. And we use heirloom beans, so non-GMO, as I mentioned. The other thing as well is the practices in the farming. So ceremonial cacao is using traditional practices. So there are no pesticides. The cacao plants are basically in their natural environment. They're not grown, in a lab. They're not grown in a shed. They're out there in an actual farm. In addition to that, the process of collecting the pods and then drying the beans is all manual. So it's all done, like they just wash them, basically air dry them, ferment them, and then basically roast them very lightly, and they come to us. So essentially it's minimal processing, and it's all using traditional methods. So they're not sitting in a drying house in a factory or in a shed. It's outside in the sun, air dried with, a little bit of netting over it to protect it from animals. So it's all of that. And I think the key thing as well is all of the additional things that are added to the chocolate. So that's just talking about the bean, but then once you've obviously got the bean, it's then the production. So with ceremonial cacao, the production is very minimal, as I mentioned. So it's just fermenting, lightly roasting, grinding, putting it into a block, and then shaving. That's it. For commercial chocolate, you've basically got about 6 or so additional processes in there. A lot of those additional processes include roasting at higher temperatures of the bean, which actually takes away a lot of the nutritional value of the bean. So cacao doesn't like to be in a lot of heat. The bean itself, to retain its nutritional properties, you can't overly heat it. So a lot of the commercial companies do that. They heat, they conch, they temper, which is just heating, reheating, adding water, heating, and you lose all your nutritional content. In addition to that, they strip away parts of the nutritional content as well by basically separating the chocolate itself from the cacao butter. So in the actual bean itself, these things are equal, they're 50%, but a lot of the big companies take the chocolate out and put more butter in. So cocoa butter is a low nutritional item. It's good for your skin. People probably use it for moisturizers and things like that, but it's not good for inside the body to ingest. So a lot of the big companies add in more cocoa butter. And in addition to that, they add preservatives, flavors, emulsifiers, things like soy lecithin. You will see that to kind of add additional preservatives. And then mostly they add sugar. A lot of refined sugar is in your commercial grade chocolate.
Yeah.
So in ceremonial cacao, you don't have any of that. You don't have any, basically it's usually one ingredient, and sometimes there might be a blend that has another 2 or so ingredients. But if it does have additional things added to it, they are all unrefined, organic kind of things. So we have a blend that has a little bit of vanilla bean and a little bit of panela in it. Both of those things are organic and unrefined, and they are as nature intended. And our other blend is 100% pure cacao with nothing added, nothing taken out, just as nature intended.
Wow.
So they're the main differences. If you pick up, and what I always say to people that ask this is, just pick up a packet of your commercial grade chocolate and have a look at the ingredients, and then pick up a packet of ceremonial cacao and have a look at the ingredients, and you'll see one compared to about 15 to 30 different ingredients depending on what you're buying.
And
so that's the big thing.
that sounds really interesting for sure.
Yes.
Like there's so many differences. How would it taste like compared to a hot chocolate? What would be the taste differences?
Yeah. So when people think of a commercial hot chocolate, I suppose they think of something that's very sugary, that you put a marshmallow on top, that kind of thing. So
Not
very
healthy at all.
sugary.
Yeah.
Yeah, very sugary and very sweet is your commercial kind of hot chocolate. Ceremonial cacao is really taking the cacao in its pure form. So it is your darkest of dark chocolate. So if you think about dark chocolate can be a little bit bitter. Okay, that's naturally the way that it tastes. And that is the natural way that chocolate actually is, until you start adding all those additional things and you make it sweeter. But in saying that, although it is a little bit bitter, it is still very creamy, and it is still absolutely delicious. And you can add, if it is a little bit bitter, what a lot of people do is they add things like something that's unrefined, like maybe some maple syrup or some really high-grade honey, or you could even add a high-grade coconut sugar. But something that's not, something that's not refined, you can add that to give it a little bit of sweetness. But the main difference is it's your darkest of dark chocolate, and that's how it tastes. If you like dark chocolate, then you'll absolutely love ceremonial cacao.
right, gotta give that a go then.
Yeah, yum.
Another thing I wanted to ask, you mentioned the compound that helps you focus, or theobromine or something?
Theobromine, yes.
Yeah. So would that be present in your typical dark chocolate as well, or
In much smaller amounts. So so all cacao has theobromine in it,
Yeah.
even, your commercial grade as well, because it's inside the chocolate. However, the more processing the more things you add to it, the more you obviously lessen the effects of the theobromine. And also the more you split out the chocolate from the cacao butter, you lessen it. And also by adding in chemicals to the production process or the farming process, you're obviously, dimming and dulling a lot of that. So yeah. So no, it's definitely got theobromine in it, but would never have the percentages that, something like ceremonial cacao would have.
Yeah, that's so much information that I'm getting right now. So not only do I have to worry about whether the cacao pod itself is genetically modified, but then I also have to look at the preservatives, all the extra stuff they add onto it, and also the roasting as well. You've mentioned if it's
it's the processing of the chocolate as well.
Yeah.
That can strip it of its nutrients.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
So there's a lot to think about, and a lot of people don't know this.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, I think we kind of mentioned this in our earlier conversation a bit, but are there any psychedelic effects for ceremonial cacao?
That's a really good question.
It's a very common one.
Very, very common. So I'll basically clear the air now. I'll say no. Ceremonial cacao is definitely not psychedelic. So it does not have any psychedelic properties. It is revered as an ancient plant medicine, though, within the Mesoamerican cultures where it obviously originally came from. So that's the Guatemalas, the Peru, the Central American countries where it is traditionally grown and where it comes from. Obviously, in ancient cultures, the Aztecs and the Mayans, they used cacao as currency, actually, because it was a high value thing to trade. So they used to use it as currency. Yes.
That's super interesting.
Yeah. And I think there's a little bit of debate over this, but they also did use it in ceremony. And that was because it was a heart opener. Like I told you about the theobromine and the circulatory effects, it opens up the heart. And so it's good for meditation and to be used in ritual. And that's obviously why we use it. And that's also why it's got the word ceremonial in it also, because of its ancient kind of history. But no, it's not psychedelic, unlike some of the other plant medicines, but it definitely has high nutritional value.
And are there any like negative impacts that have come up for ceremonial cacao?
Yeah, so I think the main things are it can interact with certain medications because it's a superfood.
Yeah.
With all superfoods, you actually need to check with your doctor if you're taking medication, whether it's okay for you to have the cacao. And the reason being is, like I mentioned to you, it's a heart opener. It increases, blood flow to the circulatory system. So if you have blood pressure issues and you're on blood pressure medication, I would say you shouldn't drink a lot of cacao because it could interact with that medication. In addition to that, ceremonial cacao actually has animides in it and PEA, which are your feel-good bliss molecules or your feel-good chemicals, which help with serotonin release and dopamine, and it kind of impacts that area of the brain around your feel-good and your mood-boosting chemicals. So if you're on SSRIs, which are for, antidepressants, you want to also check with your doctor that it's okay to consume cacao because it may interact with your medication. So yeah, there's no negative effects, but I think if you're on medications, it's always good to just check when you're having any kind of superfood.
I think that's good to know. Like, there's no like major like negative effects, but if you have any like medications that you're on regularly, you should definitely check with your doctor before
100%
drinking it.
That's right.
Quick question regarding superfoods. What constitutes a superfood?
I suppose it's a word, it's probably a bit of a trend word at the moment, but when I'm referring to something as a superfood, or we talk about it as a superfood, it's something that obviously has minimal processing, high nutritional content, and is close to its original source. So a superfood is something that hasn't been overly processed and it's as nature intended it. So unlike, commercial grade things that have a lot of additives, it's got, I suppose, high nutritional content, which can actually kind of be, some people may be sensitive to that, particularly if you're on medication.
Right.
So superfoods are anything, like if you think about medicinal mushrooms, they're a superfood. Ceremonial cacao is a superfood. Matcha tea is a superfood. Do you know what I mean? There's obviously these amazing kind of medicinal foods that we're using now. And I suppose they come under the superfood category because they're not processed and they've got a lot of high nutritional content.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. I want to focus back on the business aspect a little bit. I just want to know, like, what are some challenges you have faced with this with Mindful Cacao so far, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah.
Look, I think the biggest challenge for us is, even in our previous business, I think it's even with any business, it's like really working with ambiguity. So we don't always know all the answers. So the biggest challenge, for example, when we started this was cacao. What do we even know about cacao? So it's really constantly being open to new information and actually navigating the ambiguity of actually us not knowing the answers always. If we compare it to like when we had our corporate jobs, there's always processes, there's always procedures, everything, if you like. Now, when you're a business owner, and especially when you're doing something very new, you don't know the answers. So it's really navigating that ambiguity is probably the biggest challenge. Another challenge I would say is obviously funding, like financially, like you're starting a business, it does take a certain amount of finances to start something. That's also another challenge. And you're constantly growing. You're constantly making decisions every day, and it's like big decisions, little decisions. Sometimes they all sort of get muddled into decisions, and so that's, I would say, probably our biggest challenges. Unless you've got anything else, Antoinette, that you think.
No, I agree. I agree. It's a constant, and it's, you make a lot of mistakes in your business. And I think you have to kind of have that resilience and that kind of like self-forgiveness to actually go, it's okay, we made a mistake. What can we learn from it? And how do we move on? And most of those mistakes are not massively critical, thankfully. So sometimes they might be, and you've got to, work it out. But I think it's just about knowing that you are going to make mistakes. You can't know everything. You do your best, and then you learn from it, and you repair and move forward.
Yeah. How did you guys navigate the ambiguity that you faced? Because I think that's a very big challenge. How did you guys overcome that?
Well, I think for us, for Antoinette and I, it's all, and it's even our product, and it's what we stand for. It's really always about self-awareness, wellness, know yourself, and know your own identity and who you are. So we constantly are looking at ways to improve ourselves. And okay, so this is, Antoinette mentioned mistakes. Okay, this is what we made. What can we learn from it? How can we do this better? So we're constantly learning. We're very open to learning. We have daily rituals that Antoinette and I do ourselves every day. Obviously, meditation is a big part of them. So it's all about always bringing it back to ourselves and our self-awareness. So that's one of the biggest ways we navigate ambiguity. Breaking, and then you've also got the practical stuff, breaking things down into smaller tasks. Talking to people, not being scared to say that we don't know the answer to something. We have mentors. We have quite a few mentors Antoinette and I talk to, from different levels, and sort of not being too hard on ourselves and just constantly going, okay, let's move forward. We don't know the answer. We have a little saying, Antoinette and I, everything is solvable. So nothing is unsolvable. So we'll go, okay, all right, we've got this obstacle here. How can we solve that now? So it's just kind of constantly working on our mindset, if you like, and ourselves.
Nice. And lastly, one other question I want to ask is, where do you see this business going in the future? Like, what's your vision for Mindful Cacao?
Yeah, look, our vision is like, we just want, what is the reason we started this is, sounds corny, but we just want people to be happy and live the best life they can. And what we're doing with our business is we're just wanting to open up to new possibilities, new ways of thinking, new ways of being. So by doing a very small practice like what we're offering, or, is just to go, okay, well, through this small practice, what is possible for me? How can I live the best life I can? How can I be healthier? How can I be happier? But when I say healthy and happy, we mean true happiness, true meaning, not, doing somersaults and laughing, or, it's like authentic happiness, which is like, what does life mean for me and what gives me meaning? So we just want to constantly do that. That's what our previous business was. We see this as an extension of that. We just want to inspire people to just live their best life, open them up to anything is possible. They can achieve whatever they desire, whatever their dreams are. That's really our purpose, and that's where we see our business going. And we might introduce other wellness, if you like, rituals as the business goes on.
Yeah, no, that's really great. And I think it's a good goal because happiness, I think it's harder to achieve than it seems, right?
Yes.
And you're just teaching people ways they can like f have a more fulfilling life. And just by,
Yes.
meditation and like being more healthy, like taking small steps,
Yes.
which can have a big impact. Like for sure, I think like meditation is so powerful. If you can convince, your customer to do meditation for even 5 minutes regularly,
Yes.
like the impact that will have on their day-to-day life could be much greater than, I don't know, like going on vacation, which might make them happy. Like, I think that's
Yeah,
also an
absolutely.
important aspect of life.
Yes.
But if you can help people incorporate like small habits that are really helpful,
Yeah.
that's really an amazing goal, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's really our true purpose, Yeah. So we're going to keep plugging away because that's our passion. That's what, we love it when we've made a small difference to people's lives. And that's what we'll continue doing.
No, that's great. We have been talking about like meditation a bit, but I just want to know like what's the difference between mindfulness and meditation?
Yeah.
Because I think people often uh don't really understand the difference and they think they're the same thing.
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. So mindfulness is, and I'm going to go by the positive psychology, and I know there's different definitions, but we've studied psych, so I'll use that definition. Mindfulness is it's a very simple definition. It's about being present in the moment with no judgment. So, and what I mean by being present in the moment with no judgment is just living a life where your mind is not worrying about the future or worrying about the past. The way most of us live is we are either worrying or thinking about the past or thinking about the future. What do I have to do next? Oh, yeah, after this podcast, I better do this, I better go here, or we're worrying about something that we've done. So mindfulness is just about truly living in the present moment. And there's two ways to practice mindfulness. So there's what they would say informal mindfulness and formal mindfulness. Formal mindfulness is when you actually do a practice that makes you more mindful or more present. And one of those practices is meditation. Okay, so meditation is a practice that you can do to actually be more mindful. But there's also informal mindfulness. And informal mindfulness is when you're actually living life in a mindful way. So it's about when you're doing a task, whether it's drinking your cacao or it's going for a walk or being in a conversation with someone, it's just about being fully present in that and really being totally absorbed in that moment. And that's informal mindfulness. That's where I feel like mindfulness where you want to get to, where you're living your life in a very present way. We all struggle with it. It's not easy. But, the more you can live in the present moment, the happier you are because you're not actually, your mind is present in what you're doing at the moment. You're not worrying and stressing about, the future or the past.
Yeah. And I guess meditation basically helps you become more mindful.
Yes, it's a tool to become more mindful. And that's why sometimes people go mindfulness meditation. Yep, that's just a tool to help you become more mindful. Yeah.
Before we move to the closing section, I'm just
Yeah.
left with this one question. What sort of meditation do you both practice?
Look, we've been doing it for many years. It just depends on our mood.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest. Sometimes we want guided meditation. It depends on how much time you've got, and sometimes we like guided meditation. Sometimes I just want silence. Yeah, it just depends. Depends really on the day or what we practice. Sometimes it might be a mantra. So we love all types of meditation, and so we experiment with all types of, the sound healing is another great meditation that people are doing now. Yeah.
Yeah, same. I think it depends on the day. Some days I'd like someone to guide me through something, and I'd like to hear a voice and for them to, take me on a journey to help me be present. And other times it might be me just sitting and contemplating something, like I've got a decision to make, or I'm upset about something, and I might just sit there in silence and close my eyes and just say, see what comes to me in that quiet around that problem or the thing that I need to resolve. And quite often just that 5 minutes, sometimes I even do it in the shower. I'm just having a shower and I'm not thinking about anything. And then a thought comes into my head and I just go, okay, what do I need to know about this? And I just kind of contemplate it while I'm just letting the water, go over me. So you can meditate in lots of different ways, formally and informally, as Olivia said, and the mindfulness can come in different ways, but it depends on the day. Sometimes I want something more structured, and other times I'm happy to just sit there and listen to my breath for 5 minutes and do some breathing.
Yeah, I think this is the fun part of it. I think it's the fun part of life, actually. It's about exploring what works for you.
Yeah, what you like.
So have fun with it. Find something, be aware that it takes a while to develop a habit, but also if something's not working for you, try something a bit different.
Yeah.
So just have fun with what works for you. A lot of times, a lot of people ask us, who do you recommend? What type of meditation do you recommend? And we always say, just go out there. The answers will come to you. Trust me. Yeah. Go out there. Once you start searching, you will find something that you like and you resonate to.
It's funny that you mentioned that, Olivia, saying you should go out there and just explore different things.
Yes.
Because one of my close friends, he's really into meditating as well. He's a monk now. He's a monk now. After graduating last year.
Beautiful.
He's like in a
monastery
in Thailand right now. He told me the same thing. I asked him about meditating, and he said, honestly, just have fun with it. You can meditate anywhere. Sometimes you just focus on your breathing, and you just have to fun. I mean, that's how Antoinette and I started our meditation practice. We started a very long time ago. Before even meditation, I think, was a word. So we started with meditating with the monks. We used to sit there for 3 hours on the floor. I don't know how we did it now. Now I don't know if I could do 3 hours.
My knees could not take it these days.
Yeah, I don't think so. But
wait, so you guys went for 3 hours straight?
Yes, when you meditate with the monks, it's like very strict, and it's in silence. Sometimes it's mantras.
Silence meditation.
There wasn't as many options as you like. Now there's a lot more options, and it's more infused now, Eastern and Western types of meditation. But you just have to have fun with it. But I think that's even life, isn't it? You just kind of have to have that curious mindset, and just go out there and just have fun with anything, whether it's meditation.
I want to ask one question that might be a bit hard to answer, but what do you feel like when you're in the zone, or like when you've reached the Zen state in your meditation? What's the feeling that you get?
Look, it's hard to describe because I don't know. It's kind of like saying, falling in love. Like, what's the feeling?
Sure.
But look, it's full of love. That's how I would describe it. So the more you meditate, the more aware you become, and the more you practice mindfulness, and the more aware you become, you become a more loving, compassionate person. And so when you're in the zone and when you're meditating, you feel bliss and Yeah, you just feel like just love. I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah.
Without sounding, I don't know, a bit wishy-washy or, or just a bit corny. Have you guys tried meditation?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
have. And like for me, I get like when I'm in the zone, it's kind of hard sometimes to get there, but
Yes.
it's like there's some sort of release of energy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I don't know how else to describe it. Like sometimes I see like geometric patterns and stuff.
Beautiful.
Yes. Oh, wow. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, so that's
You've gone into a higher state of
Oh,
consciousness. That's
yeah.
nice.
yeah, so
Nice.
I don't know. It's really hard to describe as you mentioned, but you just
Yeah.
feel like comfortable. You're happy where you are. You don't want to do
Yes.
anything else. Um, but yeah, I think it takes time to get there.
Oh, it takes a long time to get there. Yeah.
But you will still have moments, even if you're not fully there, you will have moments in your meditation practice that you will feel those feelings of awe, bliss, peace, even.
Yeah.
And even just those moments is something that you didn't have until you did that practice. So it's really good.
Well, once you start, you there's no other way, you know what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah, you had to find out for yourself.
Yeah, you do.
Yes.
You do. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, I think we've pretty much covered about everything. So I think let's move on to the closing section. So I think we like to ask our guests every time they come on to the podcast is a piece of advice that you would like to give someone that may want to start a business. Is there anything that you can give them that, that might be beneficial?
Yeah, I mean, the main piece of advice, and I think we kind of covered this a little bit earlier as well, is really to follow your dreams and be passionate. When you do something that you're passionate, I mean, this is a cliche, but it's so true because we're doing it and we're living proof of it, and we've done it a few times over. When you're following your passion and you're doing something that you really believe in, it doesn't feel like work. And when you're running your own business, there's a lot of work to do. It's a hustle. It really is. There's a lot to do and there's a lot that you don't know. And when you're doing something that you love, you find that motivation to do it. So if it's less about, if you're just doing something for financials, I think, you might lose that motivation, because it takes time. So the first thing is pursue your passion and your dream. But the second piece of advice, I think, which couples it, is to be balanced around the business component. So it's all good to pursue your passion and pursue your dream and have wonderful things to pursue, but you really do need to have a bit of a business mind. You've got to have a strategic plan. You've got to have a business plan. And if you can't do those things and you're just the visionary, find someone that can help you do it. Because if you don't have a plan, you won't kind of get anywhere, or you might end up somewhere, but I'm not sure that it will maybe be exactly where you want it to be. So I think the passion and the dream will totally drive you, and that's very important because it can be hard running your own business, whether it's the ambiguity or the lack of money or the amount of decisions that you need to make, or even just the hours that you need to put in. So that'll drive you, but then the business plan will keep you focused and actually keep your dream moving in a direction. And you can tweak that plan. It doesn't have to be set in stone, but have a destination and kind of know how you're going to get there. I think that's the key important thing. I don't think there's anything.
I agree, Nat. I mean, someone has to pay the bills. You have, like there has to be that administrative component to it.
Pragmatic,
and also the visionary. And the other thing I would say is like just to be open to learning.
Yes.
Just always be open, always be curious. Never think you know all the answers. So just that openness to learning and resilience. Don't
and I think
and
I think sorry, just a final thing, because I think it just came to me as I was kind of talking about the passion. Just be authentic. Like, I think just be you, because you are behind the brand. Like, you're the founder, you're the person that created this business, and I think that you want to infuse you within that product or that service, because ultimately it's people connect with you. I mean, your product's a product and it's all amazing, but it's your vision, it's your passion, it's the things that matter to you that connect with other people. And that often even helps people, connect with you, and then they buy your product. And that's another reason we actually record our meditations ourselves and we use our own daggy voices because there's much better meditation voices out there, I'm sure, than mine.
Yeah.
But ultimately, when I meet someone in person and we run events, they would have connected with me through a meditation before. So they've already met me in a way. So there's already a connection, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're the key things, I think.
Yeah, and I really love the idea of infusing yourself, like having your own personality, adding your own personality into the business.
Yeah.
Because even with the podcast, this is something what I think about, right? Like how can I differentiate it from there's so many other podcasts, but like just adding a bit of myself, adding a bit of my own personality into these interviews, I think that's just gonna help people connect with us and like what we have to say.
Yeah,
I
Absolutely.
just want to switch it up a little bit. Since you're like really good experts on this topic, I thought, can you also give us like maybe a small tip on meditation, like someone who's trying to start meditation but haven't been successful? What are some advice you would give them?
Sure.
Yeah, I would just say just start. Like a
Mhm.
habit is hard to create, and just to be kind to yourself. So the biggest advice, yeah, I would say is just start and don't worry that you're not doing it perfectly. A lot of people will even come to one of our sessions and go, "Oh, am I practicing mindfulness the best?" It's like that's the whole point of mindfulness is just to be present, and just to be acceptant of who you are. So there's no right or wrong in anything. So the biggest advice is just start and know that a habit, as we said, is going to take time, and just to be kind to yourself. Obviously, we've provided a couple of tools, through our Mindful Cacao business, with the affirmations, meditations, maybe start that way. But really just be aware that habits do take time, and just to start somewhere, even if 5 minutes is too much, just start with 1 minute breath exercises. I mean, we've got a ton of stuff on our social media that really helps people,
Yeah.
different ways that they can start the meditation practice. Yeah.
Cool, cool. The other question we love to ask is, what is something that fascinates you about the future? This could be related to technology or something that you're doing in your own life, anything really.
Yeah. I mean, obviously AI. I mean, I think, that is
Yeah.
something that is very fascinating, and it'll be really interesting to see how that affects society,
Yeah.
whether it's, the jobs that are going to be, the different types of jobs that are going to be out there. Like you can already see, especially some of those in the professional area, like marketing, HR, finance, in big corporates. Like it's interesting to see how that's going to work. As Antoinette said, that was our background in the corporate. We worked in HR, so that's going to be very interesting to see the impact of AI and how that's going to affect society. And the other one for me is it'll be interesting to see how society I feel like we're a bit of a culture of instant gratification, like everything is instant, and we just need a hit. Every time we do something, we expect some type of hit.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wonder what that's going to mean for our attention span. Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see how that, manifests in society, because I do
Yes.
feel like all of us really are just kind of, getting more and more used to that instant gratification.
Yeah, and I think it's definitely a problem with our generation
Yeah.
because like you see all these stories about people who have become millionaires in their 20s and you might put in the effort, but you want results right away. And that's not how it
Yes.
works, right? You have to
Yes.
spend like 10, 15 years to get to that stage. But we don't
Yes.
realize that. So I think, yeah, for my generation, especially, the instant gratification, I don't know, we need to find a way to overcome that
I
somehow.
know,
Like,
I know.
yeah,
I feel like it's not, it's in everything. I think it's in relationships. I think
yeah,
everyone's just kind of, it'll be interesting to see how that works. Social media, obviously, people are, we're not very comfortable with boredom. We need something. So we pick
Yeah.
up the phones. We want to, watch something. Yeah. So it's,
I was thinking of the
yeah.
next generation actually as well, Gen Alpha
Yes.
coming up.
Yeah.
We have
Yes.
yeah,
we have
Yes.
people on iPads already at the age of 4. It's a bit
Yeah,
it's a bit
that's
crazy,
right.
but okay.
It'll be
Yes.
How
interesting
that
to see where it
goes.
goes.
Oh, look, it's a real problem. Yeah, it's a real problem. It'll be interesting to see how it actually manifests.
What about you, Antoinette? What fascinates you about the future? Do you have anything else to add?
The other thing I would add too is just, how we're going to go with just nurturing our planet and,
Yep.
the environment and sustainability, and with the fast-paced, lives that we live, I suppose, and that instant gratification and all of that, how do we balance that with the needs of our planet? And, making sure that we, look after our planet as well, because it's everything for us. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. So all of those things are they all sound a little bit negative, but I suppose there's some of the things
cynical,
that the top of mind, for us at the moment. But yeah, but being amazing, humanity's pretty amazing. I'm pretty sure we'll pull through okay.
Yeah. Now you're just excited for it. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
One last question we ask all of our guests is there any book or podcast or something that you could recommend to our listeners as well?
Yeah. So my favorite book is from Ken Wilber. I don't know if you guys have heard of Ken Wilber. He's a
Not
philosopher.
really.
Okay.
So, and he wrote a book called The Theory of Everything.
Oh, wasn't there like a movie on it?
Yeah, the
few
Stephen
years ago?
Hawking one.
Oh yeah, that was about Stephen Hawking.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
Living is
Never mind.
Frozen, I think.
Different one.
And for me, I was going to say a book, but actually when you mentioned podcast, something came to mind for me. So I listened to Andrew Huberman, who is a neuroscientist and ophthalmologist from Stanford University. I absolutely love his podcast. I think that he interviews many, many people from walks of life around everything, that's kind of happening in our culture and our world, but particularly with a science focus. So I really love his podcast, and I love anything neuroscience anyway. So yeah, that's always fascinating for me.
Yeah. I've listened to quite a few of his episodes as well. He
Yeah.
does a really good job of like giving you all the facts from a scientific perspective.
He does.
And like figuring out scientific ways to do better.
Yes.
So yeah, he's amazing.
He is amazing.
Okay, I think we'll just ask the final question then. Like this is a chance for you, you want to share anything with our audience. You can, plug an item, get a way to contact you. Anything you want to share as like a final message with our audience.
Thank you. So I think there's two. So thank you guys so much. So thank you to you all for kind of listening to the podcast today. If you do want to find out more about Mindful Cacao and what we do and all of that, you can just go to our website, which is mindfulcacao.com.au. We've got our products on there, our services and our background, etc. And I think the final thing is we do have a really exciting event coming up at the end of June. It's on our website, but we're just kicking off our Cacao Connect events, and it'll basically an opportunity to try the cacao, to sit in mindfulness practice with us, and to also connect with like-minded people in a safe space. So it'll be fun, bit of a networking opportunity as well, and we'll be running that in Melbourne on the 25th of June. So all of the details are on our website.
Sounds great. We'll make sure to include all the links for your website, as well as like the events in our description. But yeah, thank you guys for joining us today, and thank you all for listening. We'll see you in the next one.
Thanks for having us.